Hello YouTubers, Tross here, and in the background you're looking at the first video ever uploaded to my channel. Why are you looking at this? Because this is my 500 video special. I now have 500 videos up on my channel, and I thought I'd show a little clip of each game I've covered in these videos. So this is from the Spore creature creator, and most of my early videos were because the game had a export video or export to YouTube option directly in the game. Now, Spore never really lived up to the hype, but I had fun playing it, and basically kind of started me on uploading videos to YouTube. This was uploaded in June of 2008. The first game that I posted a lot of videos from, though, was Frozen Synapse. This is a simultaneous turn-based multiplayer shooter, or at least two-player. It's turn-based in that you would plan out 5 seconds of time for your guys, and the computer or your opponent would do the same, and then both turns would play simultaneously, and you'd find out the result. There was deathmatch and a few other game modes, like this is a defend game mode where I'm defending the green area in the center from the red attacking AIs. There's I think a capture mode, and I have an attack mode video that will be shown next, where I'm defending or attacking an area in the middle, and I just have to get one guy into the center to win. It's a lot of fun. They have remade it, and they also have now sort of a football sport sort of version of this out, and I believe they're all available on Steam, so check them out. My first Frozen Synapse video was put up in May 2010, and I've put up more videos over more than a year. The next game that I did on my channel is SpaceChem. It's actually by the same company, Zectronics, that did Factorio, and it's basically a game about programming molecular manipulators. The first video was a single factory, and this one has multiple factories working together to build the outputs needed. And wow, it had a lot of puzzles, and it was really neat because, same as Infinifactory, there's multiple solutions, and because I'm a programmer myself, I really got into it. You can see this solution took 3198 cycles, and here's another video of the same puzzle but now finished in less than half at 1293 cycles. Some of these early videos are still some of my highly viewed videos. I'm wondering if I did some of them pretty good, or people were just looking for solutions, and I just happened to be one of the people who were posting a lot of solutions for various puzzles. I think I might have posted a solution for every puzzle in the game eventually. I'm not sure. Well, I never completed the game. It does get hard. I think this is a user-made puzzle to make benzene. They did have, well, it wasn't Steam Workshop support, but it had its own kind of user-made puzzle library in the game. So I had a lot of fun with this game, and if you like programming, you should probably check it out. I did my first video on this on January 2011 when it came out, and it lasted a good 9 months or more that I did videos on this. The next game I did some videos on is Trackmania 2. Trackmania is a online multiplayer game. It's single player as well. Racing where the big features, you can build your own tracks, kind of like the stunts games from the DOS days. The game also has a really nice built-in video editor, which I am using here to overlay several of my runs of this track, which is one that I built myself. And I really had a lot of fun with the game. I had more fun, I would say, with Trackmania United, which basically took the previous 3 Trackmania 1 games, if you'll want to call them that, and combined them into one game, so you could quickly and easily switch game modes. Basically, they had different environments, and each different environment had a different car that handled differently. So there was 2 original Trackmania games, and then a Trackmania Stadium, which was free, and therefore it was the popular one. Trackmania 2 only focused on one environment, and then they later released another environment, and they also ported over the Stadium environment. I did a few videos in May 2012. This is Crashtastic. If you've ever seen the Fisher-Price toy constructs from the 80s, this is it in digital form. This game was in early access, and I think it still is in early access, not yet completed. I only have 3 videos. In fact, you're seeing all of them. Not really giving a good look at the game. I basically came up with good solutions for a few of the puzzles and made videos of them. So it's not really a good look at the game, but it's what I had at the time and uploaded. This was uploaded in May 2012. What can I say about Minecraft? Minecraft is the game that got me into doing YouTube videos. I uploaded on October 16th, 2012, my first Minecraft video, and I've been going ever since. I actually purchased a copy of DxTory to start recording Minecraft videos, and I've been recording them and other game videos ever since. This is actually my first Minecraft video where I show off a huge pumpkin farm. I also did other early videes on minecart stations, which will be shown a small clip next. Here we go. And you know, I mean, if you're familiar with my channel for a while, you've seen some of the Minecraft videos that I put up. I've kind of gotten out of playing Minecraft, haven't played it too much in a while, but when the 1.9 snapshots come out, I'm sure to do some more Minecraft videos, so keep an eye out for them. And you choose between the 4 destinations using these. Now, a few months later, in December of 2012, I started making Kerbal Space Program videos. I'm not sure what version I started playing. I know I purchased a copy shortly after it was available for purchase, so that would be 0.12. I think I might have started at 0.10. Definitely, it's a really big staple of my channel these days. I really always like space exploration and astronomy, and this is really a fun way of both doing that and, you know, getting to know what's needed and just the general Kerbal wackiness, the cute little Kerbals. So I really enjoy, and I'm currently, you know, in the 1.0 release version career mode series. So I'll be continuing that, and you know, any new updates. I'm really looking forward to multiplayer. This next game is actually FarCry 3. I usually don't do shooters on my video on my channel, but I had a neat idea for make a wingsuit focused video, like some of the X Games or whatever extreme videos. So I had basically took a bunch of clips after I completed the game and put them together to make this video. I had a similar idea for doing this for Far Cry 4, which I did play through, but by the time I did play through it, it was a long time after the game came out, so I thought I missed the mark, so never did that for Far Cry 4. Just a few months later, in March of 2013, I have a Trials Evolution video. I was really into Trials 2 on the PC, but I obviously had to wait a while to get access to the versions that came out on Xbox on the PC, and I just decided it wasn't going to work out for making videos. While I liked the gameplay, I never just couldn't get into Trials Evolution, so This is basically the only video I have of it on my channel. While I have over 200 subscribers now, back in March of 2013 my channel was just growing, and so I did a 10 subscriber special. This was a bit of a mix of some Minecraft footage and some Kerbal Space Program footage, the two big games on my channel, and it went on for about 45 minutes. It was kind of a joke and parody, because I've seen a few other channels do 100,000 subscriber videos or things like that, and this was basically just my way of poking a little fun at my own channel. You can see here we're on Kerbal Space Program, an early version, let's just say that. In April of 2013, I put up my first Arma 3 video. Arma 3 is a realistic army simulator. Not only can you be a soldier, but you can pilot tanks, trucks, and helicopters and planes. And while I'm not the best at it, I really like the game. I actually played through Operation Flashpoint Cold War Crisis, which was the first game by Bohemia Interactive. I didn't play the first Arma, but I did get Arma 2 and played a bit of that online, not much of the story, but I did play a bunch of the DayZ mod, although I have not played or backed the DayZ full release, separate game, whatever you want to call it. Definitely had a lot of fun. Played a bit of this. Is probably the most played game that I don't have a playlist for, with many people on chat games I've played. In July of 2013, I made a video on Factorio. I came across this game shortly before I made the video, and wow, this really caught me. This combines a lot of stuff. Definitely SpaceChem, I won't say influence, but similar mechanics. You're building things out of component parts, but also Minecraft-like in that you have to dig up the ores and stuff. To me, it's a 2D automated, or a 2D version of Minecraft with automation. And here you can see that you get lots of nice graphs and really complex factories in the background with arms and assemblers and all sorts of stuff. A new version will be coming out shortly that I hope to start playing online with some people with. Starting in August of 2013, I did a series of videos on Dwarf Fortress. Dwarf Fortress is kind of a combination of Sim City or City Builder and NetHack or any DOS dungeon crawler. Its UI is not exactly ASCII graphics. They're ASCII graphics. You can get some tile sets that make it look nicer. I am using a tile set in these videos, but it's interesting and a lot of fun. You start off with 7 dwarfs and you head out into the wilderness to set up a new, Dwarf Fortress, a new city. You have to dig out rooms and set up assembly areas, carpenters' workshops, stone workers' workshops, and eventually you start surviving. You have to farm and grow things and raise animals, and eventually you start creating wealth, and you have to trade with other civilizations, but that also brings nasties like goblins and dragons and horrors from the deep if you tunnel into deep down caves. And basically the game is about managing. You don't actually control any of the dwarfs. You just set out what jobs they can do and assign them here, dig this room, and they'll start digging the room, but maybe they'll get hungry and go get food and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting management game. I had 24 episodes lasting until March 2014. Starting in October of 2014 and lasting until February of 2015, I did a Kerbal Space Program career mode game. Today it would be called Science Mode, but this was the first instance of career mode where you basically had to use and gather science to unlock additional parts.
Really going up that quick.
I've been doing basically career mode gameplays on
more solids.
almost every version since then. So, you know, it's a tradition I've continued. Still having lots of fun with the Kerbal Space Program. The next game I covered is probably what I consider to be my first look or quick look or whatever you want to call it at a game. This is Grim Dawn. It's a Diablo-like game, much more like Diablo 1 or 2 than Diablo 3, and it should be coming out the end of this year. I know they've been releasing updates, but I really haven't played the game since this video, which was the first version that was released to the backers. This is a game I backed on Kickstarter. That this version just basically covered, I think, the first half of the first act, but I still do keep getting email updates, and you know, I know they recently released part of Act 4, and they're polishing up the game for completion, and it should be out later this year.
Dual purpose.
This is my Minecraft Minecart Stations A to Z video, which I put up. It's actually a series of 4 videos that I put up in February of 2014. The 4 parts are over 4 hours in total, where I basically cover everything I know about Minecraft Minecart Stations. For some reason, minecart travel and minecart stations was something I really got into, probably because of the similarity to programming, which I'm really into. But basically, I had a video on, you know, simple stations where you have only 2 ways to choose, stations where you have multiple ways to choose, like this 4-way station, and then I got into really big stations with you know, 10 or even 15, or had 2 designs of a 30-track station. So this got some of the larger views on my channel.
2 levels of switch tracks.
This next game is Prison Architect. Not only is this kind of a first look at the game, it's also what I consider part of a series on Dwarf Fortress-like games. Obviously, I did a big series on Dwarf Fortress, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to seek out more games that were like it, and this is definitely like Dwarf Fortress. Although, you're building a space not for your citizens or dwarves, but to hold prisoners. This game is also still in early access, although it also is planning on being released the end of this year. They have been really good. They've been putting out updates every month with an update video, so definitely really game to watch here. I've played this game, but I really haven't played, I would say, in the last year, although I have been watching all the update videos. I just don't want to spoil it for when the game is finally out.
Different biographies and research. There we go.
Shortly after making the Prison Architect video in March of 2014, I did this one on Spacebase DF-9. This also is directly inspired by Dwarf Fortress. This is what the DF is. But this went entirely the other way. Basically, this was put up on early access, and they got some backers. But the backers really fell off faster than they had planned. And so they basically ran out of funding for this game. And I guess they didn't have enough confidence that they'd make the money back in a full version. So it was basically released with major features missing that were promised.
In this case,
so this is somewhat of a disappointment. I've never actually played this game in its final version, mostly just because I'm kind of disappointed in the state that it came out.
they're decent. Well,
Now, Goat Simulator is just a wacky fun game, and it kind of came out of nowhere and got a whole bunch of hype, and while not really a real game, it's just a lot of fun to play and to watch, I hope. I did 4 videos on it in March of 2014, and you know, it was just crazy fun. And in April of 2014, I released my first Minecraft minigame. I called it 1,000 block build race because there was a 10 by 10 by 10 area which contains 1,000 blocks, in which a random object out of 64 possible were spawned in, and 2 teams or 2 single players would then have to build it using the materials provided in chests that also spawned in. And wow, this was a lot of work building this. I'm not even sure how long it took. It was probably over 2 months of just working with the command blocks and redstone. There's so much underground. I did release a behind-the-scenes look of how it worked as well. I don't think this really ever gained any popularity, but it was posted on the Minecraft forum, so look for it there. Later in April, I covered this game, another Goat-based game, but not related to Goat Simulator. This is Escape Goat 2. It's a puzzle platformer. It's actually pretty relaxing, but it's got interesting mechanics. Not only are you a goat, but you have a rat friend that you can send out, and he can cling to certain types of walls and ceilings, but there's also enemies in the way. It's neat puzzle platforming, and it's pretty fun. The next game I covered is this game, Banished. It's also sort of a Dwarf Fortress-like game where you start off with a limited set of villagers, and you have to build up a town and gathering food and farming and growing wheat or fruit trees or different things. You also have to mine some stone, upgrade houses, build trading areas, and, well, things like a typical Dwarf Fortress game. This was a bit different in that I could not record this with my typical software. I had to use OBS, Open Broadcaster, to record this. I didn't broadcast it, though. I recorded locally. And then having that software allowed me to do some other games that I could not do previously. Games such as OpenTTD. This doesn't use OpenGL or DirectX, so DxTory can't record it, but Open Broadcaster would. OpenTTD is an open source version of Transport Tycoon Deluxe. Mainly you're building rail lines between different cities and different factories and resource production sites, but you also can build truck lines and boat lines and airlines. I played quite a bit of this. This is basically just a video to show off. There's obviously single player is a big thing, but there's also multiplayer. That there's a few different mods and modes, such as one that I played a few times where you basically get a hometown and you have to bring it enough resources so it will grow its population to a set level, and the first player to do so wins, and then everything resets and you go again. Later in May of 2014, I played Sir, You Are Being Hunted. This is basically a single-player version of DayZ, where you're in a strange English countryside populated by robots who happen to be hunting you. You have to sneak around and stay out of sight of like that sighting balloon there, and you loot houses and a few different things for supplies, and you're basically looking for these parts of a crystal that will transport you back home. I did a hardcore run of the game because I thought that would be interesting, and I did make it 3 episodes, but I was eventually killed. In June of 2014, I did some coverage on Star Citizen. I've backed this, and I have a ship, and wow, I mean, what can you say? This is one of the biggest crowdfunded, well, it is the biggest crowdfunded game, and I really look forward to it. I haven't been keeping up with everything that's going on, and I know there's some rumored trouble, but this is definitely going to be coming out at some point, and we expect it to be great. We'll see. It's definitely going to be something. May not be the biggest game ever, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and already the space flight is really good. Also in June, I started playing SpinTires. This is quite an interesting game because it has realistic terrain deformation and mud simulation. You're basically in Russia using Russian-style trucks. In a logging operation, you have to take logs from where they're cut to a mill or several mills, and really interesting driving game because of all the mud simulation. You get stuck, you have to use a winch to get out. The game had a bit of troubled development at one point. Apparently the developer, which is either a single guy or a small team, stopped talking with the publisher, and or the publisher stopped talking with them. It's hard to tell. There have though been updates since, and looks like everything's back on track. There has been updates. I played quite a while, 12 episodes. I think I did 3 of the 5 maps. It's definitely a fun game. If you're looking for an interesting driving game, you should check it out. In July of 2013, I did a little video on Shovel Knight. This is a 2D platformer, much in the Nintendo old 8-bit style, and it's really a lot of fun. I never did complete the game, but I did get about 3/4 of the way through it. I really need to get back to it. I basically got involved in other things and never finished the game. I did get as far as the second town and upgrading my armor and shovel, though. It's definitely, if you like 8-bit platformers, check it out. Later in July, I started Kerbal Space Program First Contract. First Contract update came out, and now you actually had contracts to complete to earn money. I did 25 episodes of this all the way to October, and more Kerbal Space Program is always more fun. It's definitely quite a challenge trying to earn the money, needing to build your rockets and upgrade your spaceport, your space center, and a lot of fun. In August of 2014, I did a little video on this game, Lovely Planet. This is a strange bit of game. It's a first-person shooter kind of combined with a precision runner. You have to shoot the bad guys, jump on the platforms, not shoot the good guys, miss the blobs, and get to the end as quickly as possible because you're being timed and there's leaderboards. I played through about half of this game before I just hit my skill ceiling. While I used to like first-person shooters like Doom and Quake, grew up on them, I've obviously lost some skills over the years.
I want to get through the first set of levels.
I also did a video on Expendabros. This is a, well, it's an awesome game. 2D, kind of harking back to older games, but everything's destructible. It's multiplayer. It's currently in early access, and getting updates. I think it should be coming out soon. But it's a lot of fun to play either single player or with some friends. Basically, there's a whole bunch of different heroes, and every time you rescue people, you unlock another hero, and the rescue person basically also acts as an extra life. And you blow up the bad guys and the devil, who apparently is at the end of every level, and spread freedom in America. Also in August, I did a video on this game, Distance. Distance is what they're calling a survival racer. It's a racing game. You have boosts, but that overheats, but there are checkpoints that will cool you off. You can fly. There are obstacles all over the place, walls and saws. And this is actually a successor to an earlier game called Nitronic Rush, made by the same team while they were in college. I backed this on Kickstarter, and it's still in early access, although it is also nearing release. They also recently added a random track generation utility in addition to the included track editor that will allows players to make their own tracks.
Much better either. Sorry, 1, 2.
Starting in October of 2014, I did my most recent minecart station video in Minecraft. This again started out with simple tracks, but went to much more complex stations like this 100 destination minecart station track, and it ended up with a really compact 64 track minecart station that I'm really proud of. And yeah, more minecarts, more tracks, more stations, more destinations. Check it out.
The other side, an additional 50 for a total of 100 tracks. Without any further ado,
in November of 2014, I released my 100 subscriber special. Finally reached 100 subscribers. This was basically 2 videos, 2 parts. First part was somewhat of a parody of Mumbo Jumbo's video style, and at that point the Hermitcraft world was released, and so I had made a video as if I had been invited into the Hermitcraft world and built something there. That was the first half. The second half was a tour of the 1.7 amplified server that I and several other people played on, which at that point had been retired because 1.8 was out. And so I basically gave a world tour with 1.8's new viewer mode that allows you to fly through and see underground and things like that. So it really gave a interesting look at places that you couldn't normally get to, and I basically showed off everyone's builds and the big minecart station or system that we had to get around the whole server. In December of 2014, I released my second Minecraft minigame, and this one was titled Aperture Maze. It was basically an Aperture Science themed maze running game, and it had a whole giant series of redstone and command blocks that would actually randomly generate mazes. The mazes wouldn't be twice, or the same twice. They were randomly generated out of different parts, and here you just saw the maze was basically deleted one of the mazes, and it is now being rebuilt out of different parts. There's actually 4 different mazes that can be generated, and what I mean by that is 4 different types. There's basically 4 different generation algorithms, and some generate easier mazes and others generate harder mazes. The maze generation did take quite a while. Some of them, well, one of them was really quick. 2 of them took from 20 minutes to an hour, and one would take more time than that, maybe up to 2 hours. But it's all run inside of the game, running off command blocks.
pieces over here that aren't connected.
Also in December of 2014, I started my Kerbal Space Program 0.9 beta career mode game. This lasted 25 episodes to April 25th. The ending was rushed because of the imminent release of the 1.0 game, but still a lot of fun, a lot of exploration done, and always fun with KSP. Because of my minigame work and some other videos I saw, some by JL2579, I came to the idea of, would it be possible to recreate Minecraft schematics using command blocks? So I have 2 videos out on a little utility that I began writing and I still need to finish up. Hopefully in a week or 2 I do have some time off from work, so I should get working on that. That's at least my plan. But I was semi-successful with throwing a schematic in a few command blocks and then using additional ones to spawn in some other problematic blocks like torches, which would happen to break falling blocks. In January of 2015, 2 games came out that really have a lot of promise. This is the first one, Besiege. It's basically digital Tinker Toys, but you build machines to undertake various challenges. Now this has had quite a few updates, and more has been added to the game, and it's still being built, but the amount of creativity this game allows. Here I have a catapult, which you can build vehicles, flying machines, all sorts of weird contraptions, robots.
Look at that.
And you can assign the keys to all different actions and manipulators.
Next, I'm in this direction.
Of course, the other game to come out in January is Infinifactory, and I've recently started doing a playthrough of this now that it is completely out and not just out in early access. Although when this was out in early access, it was completely playable. They were just basically doing some tweaks and actually adding puzzles. There's almost, I think there's actually more than 50% more puzzles now than when it was originally released. It's made by the same people who did SpaceChem. It's basically SpaceChem with 3D space, which actually makes it a little bit easier because you can go over and under as needed instead of being limited to the 2D plane. Really makes you think, and anyone who has an engineering, software engineering, or actual engineering background, I think would really like this game. It's, puzzles are great, and it's got a kind of dark, funny backstory.
That's actually I wouldn't say it's a problem, but one of the things you can definitely get the puzzle. It does.
In February of 2015, I covered this game, the Talso Principle. It's
rather quickly, like
more of a traditional puzzle game, except that it's in 3D, so it's often compared to Portal, but there's no actual portals or manipulation like that. There is, though, normal puzzle manipulation. Connect these beams, connect the power source to the receptacle, but the beams can't cross, and other things like that. There's actually a bit of time manipulation in this game. But this is more of a traditional puzzle game, whereas in Infinifactory and SpaceChem, there's no one solution. There's hundreds of solutions for each puzzle. With this, there's basically only one solution. Maybe you can move the beam splitter 5 feet to the left or to the right, but it basically has to be in the same area. Not saying it's a bad game, it's a really good one and looks beautiful. It's basically on the Serious Sam engine. It's same developers as Serious Sam, so it's a really good game and you should check it out.
Things you've completed get crossed out. So that's
also in February, I played Grow Home, and I, in fact, played through this whole game. This is one of the few games I've completely 100%ed in Steam. I have all the achievements. I've made it to the end. It's a climber platformer. You know, you're this little robot. You have to collect the seeds of this star plant, but in order to do so, you have to have the star plant to grow, and you do that by climbing up the star plant, grabbing some of these shoots, guiding them over to these floating rocks filled with energy so that the plant can suck the energy out and grow. That's one in the background there, these glowing green rocks. And it's a lot of fun. The climbing mechanics are really good. I played mostly with a controller. You use the triggers to grab with each hand, and when you're grabbing with one, you can then move your robot up and then grab with the other hand. There's also quite a few animals and plants to discover, and there's a little mini, well, maybe not a mini game, but a collection aspect as well. And you eventually can glide and fly as well. You get a rocket pack, and it's just really an incredible game. You should check it out.
Do hear another energy cover here.
In March of 2015, City Skylines came out, and this is a game I won't say I've been waiting for a while, but basically that I didn't know I was waiting for. I did play the classic SimCity games, but I never really got into the previous SimCity game that was kind of space limited, and partially because of the space limitations. But City Skylines, you could build basically as big of a city as you wanted, and had a really nice detailed simulation with these nice overlays. Here's the water overlay. I think we were looking at the power overlay previously, and it was a lot of fun to play. I built 2 whole cities. I did basically a look at video using my one city, and I later released this video, which is I called Train Ride. I basically followed a train through the rail system that I set up, and it turned out to be one of the more popular videos on my channel. Later in March of 2015, I looked at this game, which is, I guess technically it's called Exanima, but it's basically an early release of a game called Sui Generis. I had backed this game on Kickstarter. It's an RPG, but the combat is all physics-based. You can see the lighting is all real-time, and you can hit and knock over and use many of the objects in the game. And it just seemed really interesting to me. I haven't quite got the combat down yet, as it is such a different system. You make swings with your mouse, and really your position and momentum is really important during the battles, so it takes some getting used to, but the game definitely has a whole lot of promise.
And
in April of 2015, I took a look at this game, Hover Revolt of Gamers. This is another game that I backed on Kickstarter, partially because it reminded me much of the Jet Set Radio Future game on Xbox that I had a lot of fun playing. Also, the Jet Grind Radio, which was the first game in that Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio series. It's basically a game about movement, and the real story in the game is that there's an oppressive government that's taking away everyone's video games, and you're a group of gamers trying to save the population. But it really has nice movement controls, and there's races and a bunch of different missions to do currently, and the game is supposed to be coming out again sometime later this year. Seems that's the what a bunch of early access games are going for.
basically you race this other guy. 3 laps. Go for broke.
Of course, later in April, KSP 1.0 came out, Kerbal Space Program, with new atmospheres and stuff like that. So I did some atmospheric tests at the beginning, and I did a few tests to show off how the atmosphere changes things. Like now, nose cones actually have an effect. After a while, you need a nose cone or drag will slow you down. I've then since started a career mode game that I'm still in the middle of, and I'll be playing it for quite a while. Definitely always having space fun with Kerbal Space Program. In May of 2015, I did a look at this game, Zenith, by a group calling themselves the Arcane Kids. This game basically came out quite a while ago, but Hover Revolt of Gamers reminded me of it because it is actually quite similar. They both have interesting moving mechanics and wall jumping and time rewind mechanics if you miss your jump, like I did there, and rail grinding. This has rails like that, and so does Hover. Yeah, so I kind of did a look on it just because it's a free game, and it is quite similar to Hover Revolt of Gamers, and I also reminded me of Jet Set Radio Future that I had a lot of fun playing on the Xbox back in the day. In June, I did a, well, I would say it's a rush video on LEGO Worlds, just because it came out the same day I had a flight. So I quickly made a video looking at it. This definitely has a lot of promise, although there's not really much of a game there. It looks like it's trying to be Minecraft, except there's no resource gathering. It's exploring and building, and by exploring you unlock new models that you can build. Some of these models are interactive. There's vehicles and animals that you can ride, and definitely has a lot of promise. I just hope that there's good multiplayer and machines or something you can build similar to Minecraft's Redstone. Either that or a quest system or something to give you something to do besides just going around and seeing what's there. Definitely has a lot of promise. Later in June, I took a look at Big Pharma. This is still in early access, but it's a game that lets you build factories to make different medicines. Of course, there's restrictions on the medicines. They have different ingredients that need to be at different concentrations to be effective, and you have machines that manipulate the concentrations. So this is sort of like a SpaceChem or a 2D Infinifactory in that you can come up with your own way of doing this, but in addition to just this, it builds on top a kind of business simulator, so you have to make a profit and you have to pay people to find new ingredients, and you have other companies that you're competing against. So it adds a little twist on top because it kind of simplifies some of the building. While there are different ways of doing things, there's not as many different ways as maybe Infinifactory has to build its factories. But it's definitely interesting because it kind of combines the factory production and the business simulation together. I also took a look at Nom Nom Galaxy. It's also a game where you sort of build production lines, this time using little robots, but it's also more of a platformer. And the business simulators again. You have different days and you're given little progress reports at each day, but basically the point of the game is to gather ingredients to make soups and then send those soups on rockets throughout the galaxy. A little bit of a strange game. Surprisingly a little difficult too if you're not right on top of things. Enemies can come. There's a little bit of base defense as well, so you have to build turrets and protect your factory from attack from other corporations.
We're at 60%. Oh, where are those? More straightforward.
And of course, the beginning of July, I started my Infinifactory playthrough, and definitely having lots of fun with this. I've played through the game almost completely, including the second campaign. I basically got up to the last part of the second campaign before I started playing this. But the game officially came out at the beginning of July, and that's why I decided to start my playthrough. Definitely having fun with this, and we'll continue it.
Off by the next rocket motor piece, and
that brings us up to where we are currently in the middle of July 2015. with this my 500th video.
There we go. Let's
Definitely going to be continuing my big series like Kerbal Space Program,
and you can see
Infinifactory, and I definitely hope to get back into Minecraft when the
57
Minecraft
footprint, yes, I
snapshots
have a
for
big
1.9 came
path.
out.
And 52 block score.
So to wrap up this video, I'm gonna show some lists of my most popular videos from my YouTube statistics. Here's the top 10 videos by views, and you can see a lot of my early SpaceChem videos have a lot of views, but they're really short, and that's probably why. Next is my top 10 videos by estimated minutes watched or minutes watched. And here you see some of my Kerbal Space programs, especially my 0.9 playthrough, have a lot of minutes watched because they're pretty long videos. And finally, here's my top 10 videos by likes. And Minecraft and Kerbal Space Program, especially my horse race simulator, got pretty good likes, even though it's pretty recent, but also got some minecarts in there as well. So I'd just like to thank you guys for watching this, and thank you for all the views and likes and subscriptions. You know, please leave some comments down below, and let me know what you'd like to see from me in the future and what you've liked from my channel in the past. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Catch you in a second.